the session. Our session today is about how to design effective warm-up activities for our classrooms. Okay. Before we start the session, I would like to tell a very brief story. Okay, about the beginning, the start. How do people usually start? Okay, it's about a very successful businessman who has never been in love, who has never got married before, and he decided to get married. And all of a sudden he found his dream woman, and in his first date, he started because he was so frank, and he was very honest, so he wanted to tell everything about himself. At the beginning, yeah, that's bad, right? Honesty is not the right choice. So he started by telling her on his first date everything, almost all bad aspects about his personality, all his ill qualities, all his first rodeo. His first rodeo. Yes. So that was the first impression. So do you think she would accept his proposal for marriage after giving her this bad impression at the beginning? No, of course not. So he has started badly. He didn't give it the right choice at the beginning. So would you agree with this statement? The beginning is the most important part of the work. Do you agree with this?
No, the end is the most important.
The end is the most. You mean the goal, not the end. Right? Achieving the goal would be. But the end?
I mean, how you end is important.
How you end. Okay, I would agree with this.
I would agree with that too.
With the end. Yeah.
A good ending, yes.
Okay, but a good start is also very important.
Yeah,
it's not the most important, but it is important.
Yeah.
Okay,
yes, a good one is important.
I think Plato made a mistake in this. So a good beginning is half done. Do you agree with this too?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, first I would like you to discuss these points. What is the aim of designing a good lesson lead-in? Why do you usually tend to design or to take care of designing a good lead-in for your classroom? Why is it important?
It should connect to the rest of the lesson.
It should connect to the rest of the lesson. Okay.
It leads you into it.
It is?
It leads you into the content of the lesson.
Okay.
Focusing on in a effective way.
Okay.
I would think to capture and maintain the interest of the class.
Exactly, to maintain the interest of the students. Okay, what other things?
Please create a very good impression to begin with. For example, we say that the first impression is the best impression.
Mm-hmm.
So it prepares the students for a good beginning and a good, what to say, throughout the lesson they will be more interested.
So you lead the students through the lesson.
Through the lesson.
Okay.
To wake the students up.
Wake them up. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I've just prepared some short points like creating motivation, getting students to be interested in the topic, to get them to have a desire to know more about this topic. Okay. Attracting their attention, getting everybody focused, looking at you, listening, willing to listen and participate, testing students' prior knowledge of the topic. This is also a very important part, especially if you're teaching grammar or if you're teaching a reading. So you need to know what do your students know about this topic. Okay, what do they know, what do they miss? So you will focus in your lesson on the things that they already missed. Okay, and if the points that they know might have some problems or they have bad views of something, you can modify this later. Okay? So creating concentration and focus on the topic. So you start with a general idea maybe, and you lead students directly into the topic of the day. Creating curiosity to know more about the topic. So if they know something, what else do they want to know? What else do they need to know? What things they have? What things they don't have? Well, these are some points. So what about things to keep in mind when getting started? What are the things when you design your warm-up activity? What are the things that you need to keep in mind when you design your warm-up activity?
Short and snappy.
Short, yes. So time management. Yeah, exactly. Timing.
You have to keep in mind the interest of the students.
exactly your student's interest.
Visually stimulating.
Visually stimulating, which according to the different types of learners, not all students may be visual learners, but you need to consider this as well.
Should be related to the content.
Related, exactly, the relation, the relevance to the topic. What other things?
Existing schema of the students.
The existing schema of the students. So what knowledge they already have, and connecting this to the knowledge that you're going to present. Exactly. Any other things? Okay. Let's have a look at the first one. Knowing the interest of your students and creating this interest. Some teachers, after being in Saudi Arabia for a while, they already know what our students already know about. What things they like, what things they don't like. It could be difficult for novice, for new teachers at the beginning, but for some experienced teacher, I think it's okay. We know that our students really like football. They really like to talk about, food. They really like to talk about some different topic that we know that our students can produce the language. Okay. Well, the more you know about the background and interest of your students, the more appropriate and engaging your class will become. The next point is relevance of the lead-in to the lesson objectives. So you need to know what is your goal, what do you want your students by the end of this lesson to achieve? What do you actually teach today? Are you teaching reading, listening, speaking, writing? What is your aim? And you need to connect this to the same topic that you are going to explain. Okay, because in some examples, in some of the classes that I have seen, I could see, like, for example, grammar lessons and the warm-up or reading lesson, and the warm-up was a video, which is not related at all to the topic of the day. And most of the lesson design was based on the warm-up activity, which was a video, and it was not at all connected to the lesson of the day. Like, for example, it was about grammar, comparative or something, and then the video at the beginning was because teachers tend to see that, yeah, video is very interesting, our students will really like it, they will interact, they will participate if they watch a video, but actually the video was not at all, and it was sometimes above the students' level, that's why they couldn't interact. So the aim of the syllabus, the aim and the syllabus are the most important components to be considered in your design. Appropriateness of the activity to the student's level, background knowledge, and the language of proficiency. Again, as I was just mentioning, the design of the activity. How do you know that your students will be able to produce the language? You know your student's level, okay? You know their language proficiency. So if I choose this video, do you think that your students will be able to understand this video? Their language is enough, they have enough vocab to understand this? Or no, it's a way above their level. Okay? It's also, you need to know the relation of this video or picture or whatever, your choice, to the culture of the students. The more it's linked to the culture, the more you get students to speak about it. So the more you can relate the topic to the students' culture, prior knowledge, and the more they can talk about it. The next part is learning to really discuss the discussion questions. Not all warm-up activities are just photos, pictures, or videos. Sometimes teachers choose to listen, choose to ask questions. So how good are these questions? How these questions would really get students to speak, to talk, to produce the language, to give you what they already know about this topic. So you need to really choose the question, to carefully select the question that you're going to ask your students. And you also need to expect the answer to these questions. Okay, of course, according to your experience with the students, usually after the first week of teaching, we tend to know Ali, Muhammad, and Ibrahim will be able to answer this question. Malik and this student will not be able to answer this question. So you know your students. You need to design your questions in the way that you can expect your students to be able to answer these questions. The warm-up questions provided by the book are not always the right choice. Not always the right choice. I remember, for example, in one case there was an activity, a reading section in one of the books about famous writers, Shakespeare, Charles Dickens, and there were some questions about these people. We tend to know that our students will not be able to answer these kind of questions. These are the warm-up questions that the book provided, and we know that it's difficult for our students to answer these questions. So you have the ability to modify, to change. Okay. Some teachers say, yeah, it's provided by the book. These people are experts. They design the book and they know everything. They know better than I do. And I believe that these questions are the right questions to start with. No, it's not always true. So teachers always have the ability to modify or adapt the questions to their own circumstances. Of course, according to the students. Make it as much student-centered as you can. So you need to give students the chance to speak. Divide them in pairs, in groups, ask questions, let them speak, let them talk about their own personal experiences. So give them the opportunity to lead, discuss, explain, and express their ideas. Make it brief, timing. There was a video of me in one of the classrooms that was recorded and sent to the teachers. If you have watched this video, it was considered as the warm-up activity in this exercise or in this video was really good, but the problem, as discussed by the VTU members, it was really good, but the timing was a problem. I spent like 15 minutes doing the warm-up activity, which is, I was criticized for this. So also the time management needs to be considered while designing it. So some writers suggest 3 to 5 minutes for the warm-up activity. Others believe it shouldn't be more than 10 minutes. So I think that 10 minutes is the maximum, if you do agree with me. Make it authentic and close to the students' real life. Try to get something from the students' real life. Food that they already know. Things from the newspaper, from local TV channels, from something that they already know. That will give students the chance to speak more and produce more language. So use news from local newspaper, internet, TV channels, and let students talk about their own personal experience as well. Now we are going to move to the different strategies of leading. How do we usually design our warm-up? Of course, there are some teachers, as I told you, they design the warm-up activities in so many different ways. I will give you like 3 minutes in groups of 4 to tell me what are the different ways of giving a lead-in or designing your warm-up activity. Okay? So in a group of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. Could you please join More than 5. 4. Yeah. 3. What are the different ways that you can design your warm-up? Paper, you came up with. Let's start with the first two.
Okay, we have preparing some bits and picks related to the topic, some games, and my colleagues recommended interactive games sometimes. and some games that require the students to move around the class, right? Like if you prepare some pictures, some adjectives, put them in different corners of the class, ask them to move in order to match or answer questions or wherever. Also discussion. And we were talking about what if the students, we ask the students to prepare their warm-up activities, like if you are going to talk next week about jobs, for example, you ask the students to click some videos, some games, some jokes about this topic. This way the students are learning outside the classroom as well as inside the classroom.
And they are more involved in the topic as well.
And they are more relaxed.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, thank you. Yes, the strategies you came up with?
What you have usually a projector or a whiteboard to have something to grab their attention.
Like pictures, videos.
Yeah, or it could be like a question for them to think about, but up on the board so they can all see it.
So questions and pictures.
Anything visual there.
Anything visual.
Yeah. It could be some kind of a game happening, so as soon as they walk in, they know what the game is and they can be engaged in that straight away.
Okay. Thank you. Yes?
Activating prior knowledge with the help of the
How?
with the help of the tools provided in the classrooms, like projector, we can use like sheets.
Handouts, you mean?
Handouts and the power charts,
Yeah.
projectors, small clips or pictures, and some discussion about a general topic.
Okay.
And then taking student from that point to the main lesson.
Okay. That's good. Other ideas? Yes? The same. Yeah. Almost the same.
There are some problem solution tasks and surveys.
Surveys and personalization.
Of the tasks.
Okay, like asking students to talk about their own experience, talk about themselves. Yes, any other ideas?
It's basically
Almost the same. Okay.
One more thing. I used in my class once or twice this Nearpod.
Yeah.
Nearpod site. It's fantastic actually when the students work on their cell phones and answer your questions or questionnaire or watch fix and give you comments. It gives a very good lead-in or very good warm-up activity.
So you mean the use of technology could be part of this?
Nearpod, this is a site.
Yeah, that's a kind of
Nearpod.
Yeah. Okay. So from my readings related to this topic, I could find some writers who suggested some different strategies of reading. Actually, you have suggested some other ideas that I did not read. Okay. For example, the situational lead-in. Situational lead-in is that the teacher raises a situation, creates a situation that's similar to the student's real life, and then asks students, or he actually acts the situation himself with one of the students. Like he could choose one of the best students to come outside the classroom and he could act it out. Like for example, asking about directions, being in a cafe or in a restaurant, designing and add something like this. So you create a situation, you act the situation out with one of your best students, and then you give the students the roles to do it. So in situational lead-in, teachers set up a situation that students are likely to encounter in real life, which stimulates students' desire to communicate in their familiar settings, talk about their own personal experiences. When using this situational lead-in, teachers should have the ability of acting because you're going to model at the beginning. Okay, only teachers come into the situation firstly, and then students will follow. Okay, so this is giving a model. The next strategy is multimedia lead-in that you suggested, using videos, pictures, realia, all different visual aids that you can use in the classroom. But again, the problem here, or the task that you need to be careful when you choose the material that you're going to present in your classroom. So the use of multimedia like pictures, videos, audio files, PowerPoint presentations in the lead and requires careful planning and good expectation of students' response to the form of the media presented. Okay, so you need to design or find something that's related to the students' level, okay, and of interest as well to them. Dialogue lead-in. Sometimes the teacher himself leads the discussion with the students. He can make a dialogue with one of the students, or it can be done in pairs or in groups where students can talk about the topic themselves and they can provide ideas as well. So the dialogue could be done by choosing an interesting topic, like the use of mobile phone, for example, the internet, friendship, hobbies, holidays, so on, and giving students the opportunity to talk about them and give you the ideas that they come up with. Question lead-in. Okay. In question lead-in, the teacher makes or designs the questions at the beginning. They could be done in a handout and given to the students so that they can, in pairs or in groups, discuss these questions and come up with an answer. Or it could be done at with the whole class. The teacher would ask and good students would be able to answer these questions. But again, make sure that your questions lead directly into the topic of the day. In question lead-in, the teacher needs to select the right questions that attract students' attention and lead them directly into the topic. Hot topic lead-in. That one would be, I think, would be very interesting to our students. If you choose a topic that's related to the day's class, but something that's really happened in their life, like for example, discussing the National Day if it's nearby. Okay, yeah, discussing something like
why do you support the Bilal team and why do you support what you have to keep
Barcelona won a game yesterday. Who was the best player? Something that's hot, something the students that happened lately and the students know about it. You can get something from the television or from the news, the new king, something related, okay, to the students' culture, and they already know about it. So teachers choose a hot topic related to the learner's culture or worldwide, okay, like a tsunami in Malaysia or something like this, and let them talk about it. For discussion in the language classroom, it provides good opportunity to exchange information and views on the topic, not just the information that they have, the point of view about this topic. Storytelling lead-in. In storytelling lead-in, the teacher starts by telling a short, brief story, but your story must be easy. Your accent or your language or vocab that you're going to use must be easy for your students to understand. Okay, and then you can ask students as well to tell their own stories. Try to make it funny, try to make it interesting to your students. Usually funny things attract students more. Teachers can start the lesson by telling interesting and fun stories, and they can encourage learners to tell their own stories as well. When teachers are telling stories, the language should be simple, the pronunciation should be accurate, the speed should be appropriate. In addition, the use of body language and facial expressions is very helpful for students to understand these stories. Okay, now in groups, you are going to choose one of these strategies and design a warm-up activity for this lesson. Food around the world. This is taken from our book. Okay, I want you in your group, in groups of 4, to think of a warm-up, design a warm-up activity for this lesson. Okay, so you're going to use one of these strategies like situational lead-in, multimedia, dialogue, question, hot topic, or storytelling. So you are going to choose one of them, not all of them. Of course, in real life situation, in your real classroom, you can mix these strategies together. Okay? So,
Can we create something different?
of course you can. Yeah. So choose one of these strategies. Tell me which strategy are you going to use. Okay, and design a warm-up activity for this. One representative from each group will come out and explain his design of this warm-up activity. Okay? Yeah, go ahead. Join this team Let's see the first round. Let's start with this group. It's fine. Who's going to be the group representative? Okay. Hey. Yeah, in front of the camera, man. It's live. Okay. Please listen. Okay, let's see the first design of this warm-up activity.
Yeah, normally for this lesson, it's about food.
So which strategy did you choose?
Oh, the storytelling piece.
Storytelling. Okay.
And what I found is that students are very interested when you tell them personal stories, personal experiences about yourself. They love it. And I normally relate the story about my first encounter with kawksa. And this is a real story. And the first time I came across kawksa was we went on a picnic with some friends. So we went into the desert in Riyadh, just a few miles outside Riyadh. And we sat around, chatted. After a while, I became really hungry. So I asked my friend next to me, are we having any food? He said, yes, we have food, don't worry, the food. Okay, waited another half an hour. Where's the food? No, the food is here. I look around, there's no food. Okay, being a good guy, I waited another 5 minutes. Where's the food? Oh, Jude, the food is here. Oh man, where's the food? I said, no. And lo and behold, they open up, like a kind of a blanket or something. And say, look inside the ground, underground, there's food. And I saw a big eye staring at me. And what is this? I said, this is food. It's kawksa. I said, what is kawksa? It's rice and meat. But it was like a sheep or a goat. Yes, inside the ground. Yeah. Inside the ground.
It must have been a
Wow.
big
It was a big goat. Now, I'm very skeptical. What is this? I haven't seen an old sheep in my life, being cooked.
Yeah.
And then they dished it out in a big platter like this. And everybody sat around. We started eating with our hands, of course. Okay. That's not all. Okay. Very nice, very nice. And then one guy opened up the skull of the sheep, opened it up, and took out the brains. Now I'm really scared. What's he going to do? Please don't give me. Lo and behold, took from the brains, put it on each plate, and you must eat it. Okay, so I tried it. Oh, tasted like egg, you know. Omelette. Tasted like omelette. Okay, so that was my first encounter with kawksa. And since then, I learned to eat kawksa. Well, maybe it's not my favorite dish, but I eat it. Okay. So, so I find that the students, they love the story. If they only knew that I tell the story every year.
I'm glad that you have new students each time. Okay, so of course we listened to the first one. It was at the beginning of the class. Didn't focus on the students. Did it attract students' attention?
Yeah.
What do you think? I think it was interesting and it was funny. Did it help students to begin to work?
No.
No?
It helped the teacher to begin.
Okay, didn't prepare students for a period of concentration? Didn't concentrate on the topic?
Yes.
I think it did. I think. Yes. It was interesting and enjoyable. Was it useful
Yes.
to continue with the classroom? I think it was. Okay. Was it related to the topic?
Very.
Yes. Was it short?
Not very.
Not very short. Okay. And there's another thing.
According to the video camera, we're only at 4 minutes and 30 seconds, so it was pretty short. 3 to 4 minutes.
Okay, but I was thinking about the next part of you presenting your story. You should ask students to tell their stories as well. Okay? Thank you very much. Next.
Yeah, I'm just gonna, if I could just
Strategy to use?
Walid, if I could just interject very quickly, sorry. Just interject quickly. I think all of us feel this as teachers, because there's always a struggle to make the class learner-centered. There's a feeling you get as a teacher where you feel that, is this a feeling that comes upon you that you've spoken for too long? And that, you know, the attention is being on you for too long. And you can feel it, and you can even see it sometimes in the students. Of course, they'll start. Some of them will start, you know, making faces, or there's just a feeling that you get. And I think that we have to be very sensitive about that, and be able to, you know, be reflective and be able to.
Yeah, you can just get them to involve it in the story that you yourself is telling by asking questions. What do you expect I did next? What was the food you expected to have that I will get after this? Okay, so you can get students involved in your story as well. And then, but we agreed that it was a little bit long, okay, because in 10 minutes you need to tell your story and ask your students to tell their own story. If the teacher spends some 5 minutes telling his own story, how much time will you give to your students to tell their own? Okay, next.
Okay, so the topic in itself is interesting enough. Okay, so we need something to get the students to work out with us.
So we need just the strategy. Which strategy?
Yeah, the strategy we have multimedia.
Multimedia. Okay.
Pictures is good in this situation because we have some kind of countries and we have dishes. So we think of having 2 lists. Okay, a list of countries. You can write the names of countries. For example, Spain, Saudi Arabia, any kind of other countries. And then we have dishes, kawksa, burgers, and then we divide the students into 2 groups, okay, and ask them to play a game like tic-tac-toe. Instead of X and O, one group is going to be the countries, and the other group is going to be responsible for the dishes. For example, Saudi Arabia, and the students know, so this is X, Saudi Arabia, and this is kawksa. This is all, okay? And we continue like this. America, for example, burgers and chips, chips for English, etc. So, and we let the students go, and you then who wins? Okay, there is a winning team actually.
So it's a game. It's
a game in which you use multimedia, and you get your students involved, okay? And you are just away with the stage.
Okay. What things do you need to consider in such game? If you're going to design a game like this, timing? Yes, of course. The number of countries, maybe the different kinds of dishes that you think your
Actually, you have to prepare something. Tic-tac-toe, we have 9 corners, so it's going to be 3 times. It's going to be something like 2 to 3 minutes, not more than this.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Do you have anything to comment on this warm-up activity? Perfect. Okay, thank you. Yes, next group. Yeah, sure.
I would use question lead strategy.
Question?
Yeah, I would ask a question. Did you go to any restaurant last weekend? And then I will get responses from the students. And what kind of food did you eat? Get answers from the students, Arabic, Chinese. Then I will.
right time.
So this is the starting point, and from here I will continue engaging students, talking about the kind of food they like, whether fast food or food from different countries, ingredients if they could talk about, and this is, I think, I will continue.
Okay. Yeah, so you just only would start with 2 questions. Which restaurant did you go to and which food did you have?
Yeah, and then I can show, not as a main strategy, but
Just tell them what food you want.
in the background, I can use PowerPoint projector, not paying any attention on my part, but let the students see like pizza and Chinese food, sushi, just running on the background. But I would not talk about that in my conversation. Students would pay attention to that.
So my question here, how would it be running in the background, and while you're asking your students other questions, what is the use of showing them these pictures of the background?
Just giving them some idea about the
Types of foods you talk about.
If they are going to an Italian restaurant, pizza, pasta, that's the kind of food they get from there. Indian food, Chinese food, kawksa, so.
Okay, just showing pictures of different types of food.
Yeah, just
the background.
create a scene.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So again, do you think it gets students focus into the topic that attracts student attention? These questions, which restaurant did you go to? What food did you have? I think it does. Does it help students start working? I think, yeah, because they're going to answer these questions, they're going to speak. Prepare them for a period of concentration?
Yeah.
Yes, I guess. Was it interesting and enjoyable?
Yeah.
I think as long as it's personalized, and as long as students will speak about their own experience, I think it's interesting. So, useful to continue? I guess yes. Related to the topic? Of course. Short? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Yes, thanks.
I taught this lesson Food Around the World last time, and I used Warmup again by giving students 2 questions. I wrote 2 questions on the board, like food that comes from your country and foreign food and drink which is popular in your country, right? And I put the students in group of 4, and they were discussing about food from Saudi Arabia and popular foreign food in Saudi Arabia. And I gave them around 2 minutes, and they were discussing in groups. And after 2 minutes, I elicited the information about, I wrote here, I made 2 circles here, food and drink from Saudi Arabia, and they were coming up with lots of food and drink. And then I wrote on the other side, food and drink, foreign food and drink, which is popular in Saudi Arabia. And they were coming with lots of ideas, and they were very enthusiastic while, coming up with different foods that they like. And it's quite enjoyable, and it was something that they were easily able to relate to the topic. And it went off well.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So it was mainly a discussion at the beginning, getting the students in pairs or in groups to discuss the food that they like.
Yeah, a group of 4.
In a group of 4, so it was a group work activity.
Yeah, and then later on I elicited the information that they discussed in the group, and I wrote them on the board, and they were able to use the same ideas towards the end of my lesson, which was about the speaking task, because they had to talk about food, breakfast, lunch and dinner that they usually have, food that they have, foreign food which is not.
Okay.
So,
thank you very much. Again, I think it is focused, it gets students to begin, it prepared for students for a period of concentration, it was interesting, it was useful to get students to continue the classroom related to the topic, and it was short. Okay, thank you. Next group.
Okay, first of all, Assalamu alaikum everybody. Thank you. Yeah, for the people that they don't know me, my name is Khalid Omar. And we share, I think we share the same ideas with this group and the other group, and that's we based our warm-up activity on discussion. Okay, and the first question that we are going to ask our students that's what are the popular dishes in Saudi Arabia? Of course, they're gonna start with kawksa, and they've got many different dishes around Saudi Arabia. And why is that the whole class discussion? Because we need to engage all the students. Because if we divide the class into groups, you know, some students, you know, they don't participate. So we need to that's the whole class, so they get the ideas and they get ready for the new lesson. So the first questions should be about popular dishes in Saudi Arabia. The second one that we're going to ask them, do you have any foreign dishes in Saudi Arabia? Then the students, believe me, they are expert in this. They're going to mention different kind of dishes in Saudi Arabia, like pizza, like Chinese food, different kind of dishes. And then we're going to ask them also about where we, for example, pizza, where is it from? And they're going to speak about the countries that the dish comes from. Okay? And after that, we're going to ask them personal question. When did you last have a foreign dish, and what was it, and where was it? And they're gonna, answer these questions. Okay, I think that it will be interesting for them, and also it prepares them for the lesson itself. Okay, and I think that's all the students will be engaged in this warm-up. That's it.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Khaled. Thank you. So now we are going to have another lesson. Yes, this one.
I think most of the colleagues agree on questions, right, at the beginning of this topic, and it would be interesting to start with questions. But what if we try to mix the question needed with the situational needed? Like, I have an experience with my students to start with questions, but not in class. I escort my students to the central restaurant here. We have our breakfast, right? We discussed all the questions about healthy food, about what's your favorite breakfast, what's your favorite lunch, what's your favorite restaurant you like eating out or eating in, and it was very interesting. It took longer, of course, but in these long days, you know.
You did it at the beginning or at the end of the day? Because you spend the whole day at the restaurant.
The weekend.
That's not a different.
After Jum'ah.
It's not a warm-up, it's a burning.
It's a filling up. Okay. You're going to choose another activity, but this time another strategy. Okay, do not use the same strategy. I don't think we have.
You have 10 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, I know, but I will give you only 2 minutes to do this. Okay, and you don't have to come here. You just give me your answers immediately while sitting in your place. So then and now, this lesson again from unit from level 3, from 103 book. You are going to tell me. You know this lesson focuses on grammar. Okay, the other one was reading, but this is a grammar lesson. Okay, it's about thinking present and past. Again, you're going to choose one of these strategies of lead-in, but choose a different one. Do not choose the same one that you used in the first activity. Okay, again, 2 minutes. Start.
We are
2 minutes. Choose different strategy and design a warm-up activity. Okay, first group. Let's start from the left-hand side this time. Listen, please. Excuse me?
An idea we had would be to do multimedia lead-in where we show like a video of someone that's interesting to them talking about his or her, well, let's say his life now. Let's say Messi, what he does now, and what he did to prepare and how he became, you know, a good player. So that's it. And we give some, you know, smart tips as they're listening. The whole listening would be like 3 minutes or something. Maybe they could pick out some verbs. We could tell there are 5 verbs in this clip. There are 5 verbs in this one. Try to catch them. And then that would help them to, from another angle, because that would be listening and watching. This one would be reading, to benefit more from the reading that's coming up about someone they don't know about or don't necessarily care about.
Okay, that's very interesting. Thank you. Relating the topic to, I think that will be a hot topic like Messi, because the students really know about it. It's interesting for our students. They will be able to talk about it. Yeah, this group. Thank you.
We were discussing the idea of using a video or clips relating to the recent accession of the new king, because it's related that and also it's something that didn't have in the past. So from there, say 2 minutes to 1 to 2 minutes to watch a video relating to some aspect of this. They could have regular past, irregular verbs from the video, and then ask them what happened to elicit questions to get them to respond.
What happened in the video?
What happened in the video? Can they tell what was about this using certain aspects?
Okay, but that will require a very careful selection of the video, because if you ask students to pick up verbs from the video, you need to choose a video that's, you know, suitable for the student's level, and the students should be able to understand it. Thank you very much. Yes? Stand up, both of you. Come on, Mustafa. It was your idea. Okay.
Question leading, hot topic leading, obviously football, talking about the present and the past. We'll ask the students to tell us about a famous football player in the past, if they know about anyone. Right? Okay. And then compare them with a famous football player in the present. Right? And then what we'll do is, after that, we'll play a movie, a clip. Right? Ask them questions before the clip, during the clip, and after the clip.
Okay.
Basically. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So, video and questions.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes? Yeah, this group?
We thought about different things. We can combine them in one idea. Like, we start with pictures, right, of like Saudi Arabia 100 years ago, or let's say 50 years ago, and Saudi Arabia now, and let the students talk about the difference. People or young people in the past playing and having fun, and young people in the present just using their tablets and stuff, right? And then we can move to the second part, which is talking about what did people used to do, right, before technology, before cars, before airplanes, before mobile phones, and so on.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's very interesting. Very related to the students' culture, talking about their own country. What did they do before? What do they do now? Thank you. Yes. Yes,
same sort of thing, but more specific. We talk about Hajj or the pilgrimage.
Okay.
Because you can get old pictures like 100 years ago, and compare how they used to do it then compared to now. And all the students will have loads of stories from their granddads and so on that they can relate. And compared to stories now, someone's done Hajj now, and how did they travel, how did they perform, how.
Yeah.
So idea is copyright, sorry.
Thank you very much. What else? Yeah, both are interesting and related to the students' culture. So, in summary, we need to consider these aspects when you design your warm-up activity. You need to make it, of course, at the beginning to attract students' attention, to help them start their work, prepare them for a period of concentration, be interesting and enjoyable, help students or lead students directly to the lesson.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but could you please assign the next minute for talking about timing and the warm-up?
Time management, you mean?
Timing, the warm-up timing, you know, how long should it be? The idea.
You came late.
Yeah.
We did. It's 10 minutes. We said 3 to 5 minutes. Some writers suggest 3 to 5 minutes. Other writers say maximum of 10 minutes. Yeah, 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
I have a very important comment about
Yeah.
I have a goal, which is getting the students engaged, right? So if it takes me 2 minutes, if it takes me 10 minutes, if it takes me 15 minutes, I would spend 20 minutes, right, on getting them engaged. Better, much better than spending 5 minutes and teaching them while their minds are still sleeping, right? I have a goal. I am very flexible in my class. I have many ideas in my mind, like an experienced teacher, right? So sometimes it takes just 2, 3, 4 minutes. Sometimes it takes more. I have a goal. Whenever I reach my goal, I'm going to start my lesson. This is my idea.
Would you agree with this?
No,
Would you agree to spend 20 minutes doing
Yeah,
warm up? We are discussing the idea of warming up, getting students involved into the topic, not the topic itself. You spend 20 minutes getting students ready for the topic. So how much time are you going to spend on the topic itself?
My concern is not to agree or not. This is not my point. My point is that this is what I believe. I know it's a little bit shocking, but this is what I think.
Yeah, basically, if we're teaching reflectively, we should be, considering what's going on in the classroom. If something isn't working as we planned, then it's time to just move on. It's like a student in an exam, in an oral exam. They speak well for 45 seconds, and then they freeze like a deer in the headlights. I always tell them, don't try to push the barrier. Go around the barrier, do something else, say something else. So I would say likewise, that this is just a warm-up activity. If it's not working, then be a reflective teacher. Realize that and move on.
Okay. But you can only plan your warm-up effectively once you've gained sufficiently the level of your class, what they are
Exactly, yes.
what they are able to respond to. For example, when we talk about food, say class that can respond to many things, you might disregard the foods in Saudi Arabia, no kawksa, no nothing, and try to search for extraordinary foods in northern Nigeria, in places like in India, and then try to get them, if you are lucky or fortunate not to be placed in building 11 and you're in a building that actually has internet. Students can search for that for 2 or 3 minutes, even just 1 or 2 or 3.
Exactly.
Just to get them going. But it depends on the level.
Yeah, it depends on the student's level. If you have good students, you can do a lot with it. And these are the different reading strategies: situational reading, multimedia, dialogue, question, hot topic, and storytelling. Of course, you added games. I will add it to the list as well. These are the references that I used to prepare this presentation, and thank you for attendance.
Can you leave the references out? The references?
Thank you very much. Thank you. Exactly, yeah. I will send it. I will get the list from your attendance list. I have the emails on the attendance list. I will send it to you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Someone's